Welcome back. When young offenders are sentenced to Ohio's youth prisons, it's supposed to help them turn their lives around before they reach adulthood. But too often, that's not what happens. Reporters from 4 Ohio newspapers in the USA Today network spent 8 months investigating the dangerous conditions inside their state's youth lockups. What they found was that violence is a constant threat and that guards struggle to maintain order and even fear for their own safety. This report is now a finalist in the Scripps Howard Awards for excellence in local and regional investigative reporting. The awards are sponsored by our parent company, E.W. Scripps. And Laura Bischoff is one of the reporters who worked on this project for the USA Today network in Ohio. She joins us now. Really important reporting that you all are doing. You were part of the team that spent months investigating what was happening inside these detention centers. What questions did you have, and what process did your team go through to get some answers?
Well, we had been hearing about staff shortages and violent incidences inside the youth prisons, and we had done some initial reporting a year before this report came out, and then we decided to do really a deep dive about what's happening across Ohio in both the state youth prisons as well as the local detention centers. And that's sort of where the starting point began.
And we're seeing some of the images on screen there of violences. Can you give us Can you give us some examples of how bad things got?
Well, a lot of the problems centered at Indian River Juvenile Detention Center, which is a state-run facility for kids who were found culpable would-be felony charges or felony cases, and outbreak of violence in which the kids took over a portion of the youth prison for the better part of a day. It required massive response from local and state police, a SWAT team going in with zip ties and riot gear.
And
that was part of what prompted us to look at the bigger picture.
And one of the stories in this project focused on a teenager named DeMarian Allen, who is now tragically paralyzed from the chest down. What happened to him? What's his story?
Yeah, so DeMarian was 15 years old, and he was being held in a juvenile facility, a local detention center in Franklin County, which is in Columbus. And he was awaiting transfer to a state prison, away from other kids, and then also kept away from with whom he had some sort of a beef. And the guards failed to do that, and they got into a big fight. Not even a big fight. It only lasted like 10 seconds, and DeMarian ended up crashing to the head first and immediately went limp. Basically, they picked him up and dragged him around. They didn't seem to be following any kind of first aid protocol. They dropped him face first on the way to the cell. He kept complaining that his neck hurt and please put him on his back. They refused. They draped him on the inside of, draped him over a bunk inside the cell. And only then did they realize that maybe he was seriously injured. A nurse came in and started poking him, and it was DeMarian who first came to the realization. He said, "What if I'm paralyzed?" And so he ended up paralyzed from the chest down. He is the oldest of 5 kids to a single mom. It completely was a bombshell for their family. Oddly, the court kept him on an ankle monitor, even though he was confined to a wheelchair. We just did a follow-up with him, and he's not doing very well. He's been in and out of the hospital pretty consistently over the last 16 months. And his younger brother, Trey, also got into some trouble and ended up in the center as where DeMarian got injured, and now Trey monitor.
It's just, violence of this nature is horrible to listen to on any level, whether you're an adult or a kid, but to hear these teenagers are experiencing this, it really is just heartbreaking. And I really appreciate you guys shining some light on this very, very important topic. Laura Bischoff, reporter for the USA Today network in Ohio. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about your reporting. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Shay.